A short time ago, I delivered what I thought was one of the best talks of my career. People were really engaged, they asked great questions, they even laughed in all of the right places. And afterwards, there was a short line of people waiting to speak to me, and that's usually a really positive sign. And somebody came up to me, and they shook my hand, and they said, "Chris, thank you. Your talk has made me think differently." I remember driving home and feeling really proud. I'd had impact. About 3 months later, I followed up with the client, and nothing had changed. Not a conversation, not a decision, and not a behavior. And I was left with this really, really difficult question. Had I created impact, or had I just created a pleasant memory of a great talk? And if you think about it, this has happened to all of us, hasn't it? We've attended a really great presentation, maybe watched a TED talk, we have listened to a really great podcast, and we've been inspired to do something differently in our lives. And what happens? Real life gets in the way. And all of those really good intentions, they just seem to disappear. Did your grandmother ever say anything to you like, "Chris, the road to hell is paved with good intentions"? Or maybe that was just my grandmother. I want you to do something for me. I want you to think about something that you want to do. Maybe it's a conversation that you need to have. It might be a decision that you need to make that you've been putting off. Maybe it's a behavior that you need to change. You're not going to share it with anyone, don't worry. Just bring it to mind and hold on to it. How long have you been thinking about this thing? A week? A month? A year? Maybe even more than a year. So I think we can safely say this isn't about knowledge. You've been thinking about it for a long time. You know what to do. And if inspiration isn't enough to create impact, then what is? So I started looking into the neuroscience for some reasons to try to understand what's happening here. Why is it? And I learned that impact isn't what happens in the moment. Impact is sustained neural change. Impact is what happens afterwards. It's what continues, it's what grows, and it's what develops. So what's going on? When our brain detects something, a difficult conversation or a change that we need to make, it automatically classifies this as a potential threat. And when your brain goes into threat mode, it actually starts to shut down things that could be really useful for us when we want to create impact. You're in fight or flight mode. The second thing, when we want to create impact, we think we need to give people information. We give them data, we give them evidence, we create huge PowerPoint decks. And what happens at that stage is the brain just gets overloaded. And again, it goes into the threat state. And again, it takes away resources that are really useful for us, but it redeploys them in case you need to stand and fight or to run away. And the third thing that I discovered was habits always win. Every time you're trying to create something new, a new behavior, you're going against, usually, an existing habit. And our brains are efficiency machines. They're always trying to make sure we've got enough fuel in the tank, glucose and oxygen, to be able to run away or to stand and fight if we get into danger. So these are the three key things that I started to pay attention to. I'd been working with this very, very senior leader, a CEO. He'd been to Harvard Business School. He'd read more leadership books than me. And we were working together, and he had this very difficult conversation that he needed to have with one of his senior leadership team. And every time we met, he'd come up with a reason for not having that conversation. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes we spend more energy actively not doing something than we do actually doing the thing that we need to do. So instead of saying to him, well, what are you going to do? I could tell he was frustrated. I was frustrated. He didn't seem to be moving forward. I said to him, in the next 24 hours, what's the smallest action you could take? He reflected, and he said, I can send a message asking to meet. Later that afternoon, he sent the message. They met. They had the conversation. It was pretty challenging. But as a result of that, their relationship improved. And as a result of that, the whole feeling within the senior leadership team improved as well. And he came back to me sometime later and he said, it's incredible, isn't it? All it took was that one small action to have real impact. And I then started to observe, when I was present, when impact was taking place, there seemed to be certain things around that were going on. And I started to make some notes, and I want to introduce you to something that I call the impact loop. Everyone loves a good acronym, so you're going to go away with another one today. So the first thing is we need to interrupt. Our brains are incredibly busy. We need to cut through the noise. The 21st century human brain is not so dissimilar to that of our ancient ancestors, and it hasn't been designed to deal with the amount of information that we are getting. 24 hours a day. How many of you are wearing some sort of device which is feeding you information even when you don't know? The M is make it matter. We need to connect to something that is going to improve, that is going to get better. And then the P is for personalize. We have to bring this back home. We have to bring it back to ourselves, and it has to make a difference to us if we want the motivation, the energy to be able to continue to move forward. We've heard already from my CEO, taking action is important. We need to activate something to be able to move this thing forward. A big idea on its own never changed anything. A big idea, once action has been taken, is what has created impact. C, connect. Human beings are social animals. We like being around other people. We like connecting. So anything that we can do to get other people involved when we're moving towards this impact is really important. At the end of some of the leadership programs that I run, I get participants to stand up individually, and they have to say out loud their one-time action. So as a result of this learning event, the one thing that I'm going to do is this. We call this positive social pressure. And we know that when people say something out loud, especially if it's in front of their peers, it's much more likely to get actioned. It's much more likely to happen. It's much more likely to get done. And the T is track. I want you to think about anything that you've ever learned to do. Tying your shoelaces. What was your thing during lockdown? Sourdough bread, banana bread. Maybe it's learning a language. The way that we do that is we start off, we learn, we get it wrong, we get feedback, we have another go. But all of the time, our brain is tracking. Our brain is measuring what's going on, allowing us to move forward. So this is the impact loop. I hope you are able to take something away from that today. Come back to your thing, the thing I asked you to think about. I doubt anything has changed in the last 10 minutes since I've been talking. But I want you to think about, what do I need to do to have some impact with this thing that I've been meaning to do? So I want to ask you the same question that I asked my CEO. In the next 24 hours, what's the one simple thing that you could do that would have impact? Because impact is what the brain does afterwards. And that transformation begins with what you do next. Thank you.